themselves a small window of safety, but it is still very small. The chances of a leapfrog are still alive.
They are. We're on to the carousel. Few pickups coming through. As always, what we're really waiting for is the end of the neutrals, where we start to get seeing those augments. But coming into this, you've had a little bit of conversation with a few of the players behind the scenes. Anything you're particularly expecting?
Well, I mean, you know, Josh
without giving away anything tactical, of course.
Without keeping their secrets relatively close to the chest. I mean, one of the players, which we won't be seeing on screen, but will be playing very importantly, Joshy Chan. We did have a word with them beforehand just to kind of gauge how they were feeling coming into these final two lobbies, where the pressure is on immensely. And I think this is true for all of our players, because of the need to get into the very, very top of the competition, to be one of the 3 top players amongst the 16 from the 32 we had yesterday. They have to play high volatile style, where 1st or 8th are both just as likely.
Frozak just taking a little bit of time here before making some decisions, able to pick up a couple of early Heimdingers. If a Lulu or Tristan were to present itself, this would be an optimal start for Frozak getting towards those 3 trainers. It feels like we've not seen a lot of people able to get to 2 or 3 trainers super early. No really impactful nomsies today, whereas yesterday there were lots of platinum ones just shredding through compositions. Couple of 3-star drops here, however, could change the whole shape of this game for Frozak.
Oh boy, the Olaf is there and waiting to be taken through and built up across the course of the game. We've got pretty okay items of Gwinsu's already for Frozak to potentially move down this route. The Scale Scorn, a little disappointing for Frozak in the previous game, getting all the way up to Scale Scorn 6. But that Olaf 3 was not to be found until the end times. Well, let's say it wasn't to be found the entire game.
It's not my job, Peter, to announce people who are 100% out of contention for the top 3 at the end of the day. However, I do think it's fair to say that we've got around about 6 players here who at this point probably will struggle to come from the points total they have. I'm not saying we should completely discount them, because 2 wins can give you 16 points and completely turn around your fortunes. But when all these players only have that many points or less already, it's going to be tough for them. They're YLCO, Kafuzzled, EMEA, Slicks, Rovskagg, Temlozz, and Laser Octopus, who have not had the fortunes that they had yesterday during qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, this lobby in particular, Laser Octopus are #1 from yesterday, not having a good day today at all. Staig and Kafuzzled, they all are on the points total that it's very unlikely they make it through as our top 3. But they are still in the lobby with the players that can make it through. So their performance in this games, or in both of these games coming up, absolutely does matter, even if it isn't necessarily directly for themselves.
Diana pick up here for Laser Octopus, who currently sort of probably not at the bottom of the table. Will hope to pick up a couple of good results near the end to at least restore a little bit of pride, if nothing else. Unfortunately for them, Aatrox just holding out for so long, meaning Diana's not able to rip through the lines as much as maybe they would expect to. They will still get the shield, they'll still get the AP damage coming out of the orbs, but I think that the Olaf probably will just about have their number in this duel between the 3 stars.
Yeah, I mean, you can see both players trying to hold on as best they can to the early game, but yeah, so we've got the 2 Tiny Titans coming in, Frozak and Tiaan. Frozak taking the win there, Frozak, and Tiaan not doing so. We do have ourselves some early Dragon Masters coming in, and some Jades, well, the Jades is part of that as well. We have seen the set do a very, very good job of holding the items for Xiaoyu.
Tiaan getting Tiny Titans, I think, is a really, really important moment in this game, Peter, because this is a player who's already done so well in so many lobbies, consistently hitting top 3s, admittedly not in the last game, but they've been pushing towards that top spot. To give themselves that 30 hit point head start surely means they can be massively in contention come the end of this game.
So Staig, who is one of the players who's able to make the influence on the outcome, but not take the crown for themselves, going for what's looking like potentially a Scale Scorn 6 route. We'll keep our eye out and see if that does happen, if those augments come together. But what they've got right now is enough to get the win.
Certainly is. Tiaan will lose yet more, well, some more health, which is the first little drop of damage, or maybe the second if my eyes aren't deceiving me. Frozak also dropping below that 130 hit point threshold. Not an ideal situation at all, because you're not going to lose enough health that you're going to be popped below the 100 hit points where you're going to get a better carousel. However, also losing a little bit of your bonus health. So it's up to you how you play around the lost streaks if you're going to take that extra tiny Titan health.
My gosh, I'm thinking back to last season, because of course Tiny Titans has been around for quite a long time at this point. You know, it was very much the tournament players augment, as we've talked about several different tournament players augments, just because it kind of forces you into a situation where you are generally pretty likely to hit top 4. People would take it early for the top 4. They take it late to hold on for 1 or 2 more places. In this case, though, we know that top 4 isn't probably going to be good enough, but particularly for brubbba and Tiaan coming with 25 points, there is something to be said for just not having that one bad game that throws you off the top spot.
That's exactly what I was thinking of for Tiaan. I think that's why it's going to play off so well. Unfortunately for them, they've got brubbba, who's going to be contesting just as hard for those top 3 places, and they're win streaking themselves without the need for an extra 30 HP.
Well, let's go down to the other end of the table. Qualifier, who has a lot less HP than perhaps they would fully like, but they've got themselves a decent loss streak playing a Jade Guardian setup here. In fact, I think we might be seeing several different players headed in the Jade route in this game.
Okay, well, there's certainly some Jade to be had here. Giant's Belt resting on the head of our Frost Queen there. Ash just chilling out. Meanwhile, a sword on top of the Gnar could be an option for anyone else who wants to pick up some early Jades. It's been quite understated so far, Jade. I don't think we've really seen any kind of victory on stream for the Jades since our first game of yesterday, where we had a 3-star Xiaoyu.
Yeah, I mean, the 3-star Xiaoyu was absolutely eye-opening. I think, you know, it's a pretty reliable composition, which is, again, is why we see it so often being played in the ladder specifically, because you're more or less guaranteed you're going to do well with it. But you're right, you know, the big capped out boards we have been seeing are just so ridiculous that I think Jade, it's kind of struggles to incorporate some of those bigger elements in that let you get across the line against, you know, Omega level boards, as we talked about before.
Well, as you were saying earlier, it feels very much like today is a day of late game boards, and against those late game boards, the Jade seem to have struggled. And for me, that's why I'm not convinced it's something I would be going for in this particular lobby. However, if you can find yourself the only one trying to pick up those units, maybe you can get yourself to a point of power where your Xiaoyu is able to rinse through the other dragons before they can even get started. Meanwhile, in these early stages, the health is obviously quite significantly separated between top and bottom, courtesy of our Tiny Titans. Kerfuzzled has been a loss streaking so far, as we've been following a few of their last games. However, it looks like they might be able to do a decent bit of damage here to Frozak's chances.
Now, Frozak, of course, never feeling too bad about having that Olaf taken out again, but one player we do need to be keeping our eye out very closely on is friend brubbba. So they've got themselves the very early Lulu to be able to start the stacking, waiting, of course, for maybe even to have a Heimerdinger creep into the comp as well. But the win streaking going on right now for brubbba is excellent and puts them in great stead to keep their top spot.
It does indeed. Coming towards that neutral round, one more win here will put them in such a wonderful place, and already being able to stack up on both the trainers and the cannoneers as well, they'll be pretty happy with how things are going. They'll be absolutely reveling in it.
Oh dear, we've reached that part of the day, have we? Well, you've opened a Pandora's box you can't close again, Greyheart. Prepare yourself.
Oh, I love being instantly reminded by a chat of the fact that Jade won the last game. That's that's a valid point. I meant apart from that, we hadn't seen any other wins.
Yeah. Apart from that thing, to be fair, I didn't correct you as well. It has been a fairly long weekend, so I'll take that bullet with you, Greyheart.
Oh, there we go. It's going to come through to neutral, and only a few more biscuits to get Nomsy up to silver. Really, really strong early start for brubbba. They are continuing that win streak. See what the gods give them from the Krugs.
All right, so let's take stock coming out of stage 2. We've got fiskskagg down at the bottom. with a very healthy looking loss streak, and we can see their money is strong indeed. Kerfuzzle just above them in a little bit of a less strong spot. They've got the same amount of HP, but their money is very much less comparable, and their streak is no good at all.
It's not what they'll be hoping for in terms of getting that optimal gold, but at least their income isn't too bad, around about 38 mark. As you can see, after that last pop over, I think it was 30 coming into this round. If we could just pop back to brubbba. Oh, we have indeed already. You see, done it again. Just
we're on the same page, Greyhound.
On the same screen as well. I'm sure you touched on it already, but having that evoker coming through, the evoker crest, I believe it is, that we're seeing opens up some really interesting possibilities as we get towards the late game, because quite often you don't see that crest taken unless you want to go towards Evoker 4, where it starts to find real value. The problem is with this composition, until you get to level 9, there's not really a good way of putting that out without losing power in your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think for brubbba, it's all about the here and now. We can see Nomsy is already doing a decent amount of damage. That 3-trainer version of Nomsy is a whole different beast, and Frozak will pay the price, going close to hitting that 100 HP after picking up the early Tiny Titans. Let's also go and check to see, because Frozak, I'd imagine, is on an okay losing streak. They've cashed in, those 30 HP for, getting up to level 5, getting themselves a decent amount of gold, but nothing outstanding.
No, I personally wouldn't be particularly pleased with that if I was in Frozak's shoes. I'd be interested to see what the situation is for Tiaan on the back of taking the same early augment. We've come into the second augment, so we'll see what brubbba was able to get their hands with alongside the original evoker. I think we're currently following Tiaan as they get to pick up their second, and it's going to be is that Best Friends that they've gone with?
No, it's this. So this one's the Stand United. We did see Best Friends. Let's go on a little skipping tour of what we've got. So the Best Friends, we can see there's loads of traits here active for Tiaan, so pretty good. The Tiny Titans, oh my gosh, we see even more of it coming through. Everyone wants to be a Titan here today, and so does Kerfuzzle. Staig, they did not manage to find another Scale Scorn, but they are at least up to Scale Scorn 5 and Electrocharge. There's the Best Friends you were talking about from before for Frozak.
Yes, just occasionally the emblems are not the first thing that I remember. I have to see it written down for my old brain to compute it, but it's going to be Best Friends coming in here alongside Titans for Frozak, and yeah, they really need to start putting an end to these loss streaks, if I'm honest. I feel like they've lost the value of Titan Titans quite considerably and not had maybe the gold and the level advantage they should be from having had that 30 HP, but even so, they're battling hard. They're trying to do what they can. It's going to be a battle between Nunus at the end of the day. The feast comes through, but it goes on to the Lilia. This is going to mean almost certain doom for Frozak as the Laser Octopus starts to pick up wins again.
I still love Laser Octopus's username. As you pointed out before, they've got various different combinations of animals to work out their various different identities. Yes, the huge manatee. They did say they're not a streamer as of yet, but hopefully they'll change their mind on that because it's such a great name. Brubbba, though, with a more straightforward name, they keep their win streak going. Tiaan's coming across to inspect the troops. Brubbba, pretty pleased with themselves. Yeah,
and they've got a couple of nice, well, not emblems, but a couple of nice augments going their way. Thank you for the correction on telling me, because of course the heart, not the crest. And yeah, seeing this one's build up, I expect brubbba to be able to continue this win streak a little while longer. Kerfuzzle trying to prove me wrong using the Jade, which does certainly have this mid-game power spike, but Tristana's going untouched that static shiv on the back line so far. If they can just eat through this Leona, it should be another win for brubbba.
Yeah, the Trainer 3, this is only going to get worse for everybody in the lobby. When you're on a win streak, you can keep pushing up levels, keep getting the re-rolling in. I mean, brubbba, this is an almost unprecedented situation in here. As you mentioned, they've got a couple of hearts to help push the power of the board, but their gold's total is still high. They're not spending all their gold to stay on top of the lobby. They're win streaking and being rich at the same time.
Was going to pick up the spatula, denying it from some of our top leaderboard players, and that's something that Alex will probably be quite disappointed about. Coming out at the same time, having the opportunity to pick that one up had it just been on the other side of the carousel. Alex M, of course, very, very close to being able to push back into the top 3 in our standings.
All right, so let's just do a quick whistle-stop tour. Again, we are 3 focused players, brubbba, Tiaan, and Alex M. Not the other players that matter, but these are our players who are currently in the best position to become one of our sub-region representatives here as the Northern Legends Superbrawl team. Tiaan, straight on to the 100 with the set holding up the front line. Comp looking pretty good. I think that's Stand United, a very solid choice in a relatively low power augment lobby.
Seeing, interestingly, in this game is brubbba coming off the back of a win in the last round straight into dominance in this one as well. I don't know about you, Peter, but often when I'm playing, if I have a really good game where I've got an exceptionally strong board, maybe I pick up the win, quite often I'm fooled by my own power from the previous game a little bit into playing slightly more aggressively than maybe I should in the next game and then actually doing worse. Right here, what we're seeing is brubbba able to continue this run of form so incredibly excellently on the back of these early trainer pickups.
brubbba will pick up another win off screen as Alex M looks to re-establish themselves from the bottom of the table. So let's see. So Alex M, let's actually take a little moment to go through what their board is up to. There we go. There we go. My micro not quite good enough to click on Alex M's name, but we'll get there eventually. And we do see that Shimmer Scales have returned, Greyheart. The prophecy was true.
Well, we're up to 5 already at 3-6. For those of you who weren't here a couple of games ago, at 3-6, we saw one player getting up to 9 Shimmer Scale and then just rolling over the rest of the lobby for the rest of the game. That's not quite happening here, but it's still a strong start for Alex M.
Yeah, purely defensive items so far, but Alex M still the possibility, depending on this final augment, to go a little bit higher. Maybe even put together a Shimmer Scale spatula. We'll see how it works out. I think there's more of a chance of Alex M dropping the Shimmer Scale as we go on, just because they haven't been tied to this by augments at all.
Seeing some people in the chat, specifically Hooker Parts here, saying that brubbba is an insane position. I can't argue that for a single moment. brubbba has a setup here to just roll over this entire lobby. I've said it before, sometimes this game just feels like it wants you to win and gives you everything you want. Of course, you have to then be smart enough and good enough at the game to be able to use that effectively, but that's something brubbba is doing absolutely brilliantly for the second game in a row.
So something important that we talked about before, that brubbba has not been having to spend out their money to stay on top of lobby. They have been judging it so well to get to this point with still this much money in the bank. We've seen a lot of players before, they'd be at this point and they would, they're relying entirely on their win streak money. They'd have, 5 gold in the bank because they spend everything else on upgrades. But with the trainer setup here is so good, you only really need the 2 stars in there. Chasing the 3 stars oftentimes a fool's errand. And brubbba, I think they're going to be able to set themselves up really well for stage 4, where they're rich and strong and well on path to at least top 4, if not a lot better.
Nice item drops coming through as well off of the carousel. They've managed to get their hands on a second Zeke's Herald for the Lulu, which is absolutely critical. We are going to be coming up to the 3rd augment in just a moment. And if it's something else that synergizes so nicely with the composition they already have going, I'm just going to go straight ahead and guarantee them a top 3.
Let's check out what Alex M is up to, though. So the Shimmer Scales from before, they've gone up to level 8. I believe that's going to be the highest, certainly the highest on lobby right now, up against Qualifier, who has got themselves a Xiaoyu, but unfortunately not itemized as of yet. Will have trouble with this very strong Shimmer Scale frontline.
Yeah, Alex M looking a lot stronger than Qualifier at this exact moment of time. Expect them to overtake them in terms of hit points by the end of this round. Ida's just proving to be unkillable even at level 1. Though they're having a damn good going on the side of Qualifier, just buying enough time to let these Jade units get on top of the big dragon. It's not quite going to be enough to save Qualifier, but at least they take a little less damage.
I do always enjoy seeing this from Shimmer Scale players, as we will officially not be seeing ourselves a Shimmer Scale 9 game. Instead, we'll have to stick to the more sensible output. But to be fair, I think, from Alex M, for where they are right now, they are totally fine. They are not tied into Shimmer Scale. The current items they've got are generating them, up to maybe even more gold per round. Well, 2 up to 4 at any given round, which means they can transition wherever they want to. Zoe coming in, of course, just the icing on the cake.
Another Idus available to pick up should Alex M want that. Unfortunately for them, they're going to have to do something a little bit different to be able to have the gold to afford that one. A couple of Corkis in play here, one on the field, one on the bench, denying slightly from brubbba, who I don't think has hit the 2-star Corki just yet.
There we go. So this is the change we're expecting for Alex M. They have dropped down from Shimmer Scale 5 to 3. They've got what they need right now, which is to have a Sona and Corki setup up against Alex M. Those Scaled Scorn, they're being held at bay by the good amount of crowd control.
It's true, and things are looking pretty tricky here for rovskagg as they try to duel up against this free-firing Sona, who really did get the best out of those Thieves' Gloves. Another win coming in for Alex M. If we could have an opportunity to turn attention back to brubbba just for a moment, that would be fantastic, just to check out where they are on the Corki pickups, because now they're almost directly contesting with Alex M in terms of their comp. They're practically identical.
And brubbba is starting to spend down some of that money. They have got the Idus 2 already, but the backline, you're right, is a little bare. While we've got the double Zeeks, those are force multipliers for the backline. Ideally, you're buffing up units that already have, the 2-star and, 3 items. That's when you really see the big returns in the Zeeks.
And as you can see, 2-star Idus already. Another one potentially there to be picked up off the bench, but they're not going to be looking towards pushing for a 3-star Idus just yet. That's future brubbba's concern. Hook is going to connect onto Tristana. There's no itemization yet onto the Cork, who did get slowed down by the Shroud, but Alex M isn't quite ripping through the health bars maybe as quickly as you'd expect given their itemization. I do think this could be the end of the win streak, however, with the crescendo tagging on to pretty much all of the backline.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I think brubbba is in a hugely happy mood. No, wait a second. Okay, the backline is gone. brubbba, you absolute beast!
So tanky. Did I mention? So tanky.
I think we've got the evidence before our very eyes. That round was ridiculous. Frozak, though, down the bottom of the table. We're going to have to go and check out some of our other players with brubbba. We can pretty much just rule out that story as brubbba is holding on at the top of the heap, exerting pressure onto every other player in the lobby. We don't have anybody who's, in the massive danger zone coming into stage 5 as of yet. Frozak, I think, probably grateful to not be further down the table, well, not further down the table, but further down in HP.
Big moment there. Don't know if you saw it, Peter, but coming out to that last spot coming out of the carousel, Alex and brubbba step out at the same moment, and there's a Corki, and it's got a crit glove on it. And who's able to get their hands on it? It's not Alex M. It was brubbba who was closer and able to secure what I believe is their second Corki, pushing them close to hitting that 2-star. Would have been a 2-star immediately for Alex M if they'd got it. Turning our attention from those two players who are near the top of our standings to one other player who's having worse fortunes this time around. How are things going for Tiaan?
Let's take a look across there in a sec. Let's see. So, Tiaan, I thought for a second we might be getting into the Dragon territory, but it looks like Tian's still got a way to go to grow their board. Alex M in second right now. I think we did see a couple of Corkis and Iduses being completed towards the top end of the table. So if anyone, if there were any thoughts from our lower table players of climbing the way back up in that window of opportunity before the 2 stars have been hit, that window has been closed.
It has started firing for Tiaan, but not enough to take away from the hit being put out by Alex M. Which Mirage are we looking at, please?
We are looking at, I think it's Stormbringer? Yes, we are. The big old heal, which normally you'd be seeing people bringing in a lot of news for, but in this case, we've got just a little bit coming through here for Frozak. Let's take a whip round and actually check out our augments and see if anybody else is going for the Mirage. Scale Scorn, full sec. Kafuzzled with a very, very nice early Ao-Shin, maximum damage.
I think that's off the 1% chance as well. In fact, no, 2% chance on that one, but even so, nice to pick this one up. Rocking the Infinity Edge, interestingly enough, which I'm a little befuddled by, but we'll see how it works out. They're able to maybe match up with a dual gauntlet later on, and maybe they even have the augment for it, and I'm just missing it.
Yes, that's the third one in there, a little golden jewel lotus. So the damage here is pretty ridiculous, but notably, we've seen this problem for people with Ao-Shins at this kind of level before. While one-star Ao-Shin has been buffed on recently, it nearly always falls slightly short.
Brubbba takes a loss, and whoever it was out in chat, who am I calling out? Mr. Mide has gone full caster's curse. They mentioned the perfect game, and it's gone.
It was thanks to Staig as well, one of the players who, as of this lobby, does not have a way to come back in and become one of our representatives. They were the one who did show that the influence is always there when you're in the lobby with some of these top performing players. You can still be the fly in their ointment.
And there's a really quite nasty fly in Tian's ointment at the moment. Tian, who comes into this game at the top of the table, tied on points with Brubbba and Hyunjin Bot. They are currently looking like they might drop out in the bottom 3. If that were to happen, it opens the doors for the likes of Joshi Chan and Alex M to push past them.
I mean, this is what these last 2 games are all about, seeing whether the players at the top falter, or if they can hold tight to the success they gathered for themselves so far. Laser Octopus, the champion of day 1, will hit the big money. We've got double Danger, we've got Mirage 6, we have got all of the Yasuo and Yone, Nunu and Willops we can ask for.
That's a bit more like it. You wanted a whole load of Nunus. Well, we've got them now for the Laser Octopus, who's going to be going up against Alex M. Alex M, who's pushing towards the top of the table. Laser Octopus, who is propping it up. But who takes the win in this fight?
I'm fascinated by the double Danger setup here. It doesn't seem like with, you know, the unitemized Danger should be able to do an absolute ton from the side, but the itemized one will be able to fire across really damn well. The backline of Alex M isn't quite there yet. We don't have the 2 stars because we have seen Corky and this entire setup relatively contested so far this lobby. It's going to slow Alex M down and allow for Laser Octopus to get the big win in.
Okay, so coming in towards our next carousel in a couple of rounds' time, we've got 2 players dropping down between 20 HP, Kafuzzled and Frozak. Not players who really are pushing, if I'm correct, in terms of trying to qualify at this point for the Superbrawl. Just have a look. I think Frozak, probably with a good enough result, could have pushed their way up forward, but certainly coming in 7th or 8th will not do that whatsoever.
All right, Frozak, let's see if you can hold on. Certainly a pretty strong setup, especially in a place where we've got the Mirage being relatively contested. It's Whispers and Mirage meeting together. Frozak, 1 more shot's going to do for them.
Oh, Frozak is able to get a decent crescendo out, buying time for Corky to get good damage, stacking the Rage Blade up. It needs to start turning its attention towards the Danger, though. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty quick death coming out of the Archangels. That is not enough damage onto the Dragons. That is the death of Frozak. This could be the moment that ends their possibility to qualify for Superbrawl.
Frozak, that's got to be absolutely, you know, bitter taste in the mouth. Of course, for most of our players, it just isn't going to be their day, but still, you come here, you go through several days of competition, you hope that the dice will fall your way, the chance will favour you, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Fuzzled, along with having that useful augment, also now building up the double Archangel, so there'll be late game power coming out of the Aoshin, but equally so, they're going to be able to cast that a little bit quicker, having the base mana set a little bit higher. This is pretty much a last opportunity, however, for Fuzzled. They've got to get the damage out pretty much immediately if they want to have any chance against Brubbba, who has now taken a 2nd loss, but is still arguably by far the strongest competitor in this lobby. And with a big crescendo going through just before the ultimate of Aoshin, that is going to be all she wrote. The ultimate does come out, the damage is good, it's not good enough. Kafuzzled is gone.
I'm starting to feel more and more like the early Aoshin drop is something of a trap for the players, because they put so much behind the Aoshin killing everyone, and Aoshin 1, even with the augment setup we see here, still wasn't good enough to do it.
Not even close. Okay, what are we going to get to see coming out of this carousel? We've got an Infinity Edge and a Last Whisper on a Zoe and a Soraka, respectively. A couple of useful units, not especially useful items, apart from maybe for our Scale Scorn player. Meanwhile, however, we are seeing a few interesting developments on the health side of things. Everybody now is between 44 and 30 health, except for Brubbba, who is on 82.
Well, yes, I mean, we're going to be saying a lot of except for Brubbba. I think, you know, I've certainly seen in the chat that Brubba's started to gather themselves a pretty healthy following of fans. So, again, we're looking for players in this competition who can go on to represent the Northern Legends region at the Superbrawl. Hopefully, their performance here will help convert you to a fan if you're not already.
Okay, coming up, we're going to be following... is this fiskskagg?
Yes, it is. Fiskskagg.
Has opted into the Rage Wing, hasn't itemized the Zaya at all, instead opting into allowing the 3-star Sentinel to do the heavy lifting, and they are currently struggling to put the damage out onto Tiaan. For Tiaan, this is such a crucial round because they really need to finish inside the top 4. However, they are struggling because Shyvana has struck hard. Now it will just remain for the battle between the Swains. In the Battle of the Rage Wings, one with Shyvana wins out, and that is going to be Tiaan.
It's cruel irony indeed to be getting beaten up by the very unit you're desperately trying to find at level 8. A real insult for Fisk, but again, Fisk on 19 points right now, along with Frozak, or would have been along with Frozak, the one with the really narrow window of opportunity. The Scorch Augment coming in here means this is the best version of the comp that they can hope for. It's just that I don't think they've got enough money or time to find Shyvana to cap out.
Brubbba has taken another couple of losses counterfeit. He's being dragged back towards the pack, kicking and screening. Laser Octopus, meanwhile, continues to climb.
Yeah, we've got Staig here who's providing some pressure of their own to the lobby. Again, that Olaf fully itemized now with as much target access as you could ask for. Means Fisk takes another big L, and I think we're going to quickly end up in our top 5.
Double Runans there on the Olaf, slightly unusual, but it's working out so far, and Staig is absolutely going to prove to be a difficult competitor to beat. The same is absolutely true for this Siphon that is doing quality damage. It's being charged down by, but this Shyvana even, not this Siphon, who was doing quality damage. Corki unable to rip through them. Brubbba continues to take losses and is now only 8 points ahead of Laser Octopus.
Oh boy, I mean, Laser Octopus, while it's too late for them to be able to turn around this day 2 performance, it's worth something to show there's a reason they came through as our #1 player when the field of 32 was alive here, or rather yesterday in day 1. It's still an incredible thing that Laser Octopus was able to do that, and no one can take that away from them.
Just want to take a moment to explain why players like Laser Octopus are so important right now. Because if Laser Octopus wins this lobby, denies the likes of Brubbba, Alex, M, and Tiaan from getting those maximum points, not only does it affect how those players are in relation to each other and how they do in this lobby, but then there's a whole other lobby over on the other side with players like Joshi Chan who are just waiting for an opportunity to try and leapfrog those players in the standings. By someone like Laser Octopus taking the 8 here, it is a denial of points and opportunity for the other lobby to overtake.
Oh yeah, and it's terrible news to be in a lobby with players like this, because as Joshi Chan was telling us before this game even started, there's a huge amount of variance on display right now. When you can't win the competition, there's nothing stopping you from going the most 1st or 8th performance possible, trying to improve your standings, but also providing the biggest challenge possible to your opponents.
The 3-star Nunu has been such a massive game changer, and it's buying so much time for Deja to fire from the back. 3-star set doing everything that it can and punching above its weight. The boss picks up a big win. Laser Octopus loses their win streak, and fiskskagg is able to stay alive.
Yeah, I love this item setup here for the set. It's such a ridiculous unit. One of the very few low-cost units who can hang with a late game, as long as the traits are there. There is our friend Shyvana. And there is Rage Wing 9.
It's in. Let's see what itemization is available. That is pretty nice. I'm sure that they're going to be delighted with that. fiskskagg, I think, has just created an opportunity to actually push for top 4. Very much so, depending on who they have to face off against. If all of a sudden it's Tiaan, that could be just a really horrible timing in terms of the RNG of who they face.
All right, Tiaan stays over the entire board like a spider waiting in a web. Alex M will be the opponent here for Fisk as they try and hold on. The Rage Wing 9 is good, set up in the air for most of the round. Shyvana, with her newly nerfed mana, takes a while to take to the skies, but when she lands, the fire will burn.
Has got this Flame Breath ripping through all the Thieves' Gloves, Infinity Edge, Warmogs, Unsown are not going to help Alex M one little bit. They get dropped to a singular hit point, and with Dave trying to push so far higher up in this lobby and up in the standings of our entire competition, this is not what they wanted. This is going to be a 3-point dropout if they go out now.
Oh boy, yeah, the game had been looking real good, but now we're seeing brubbba has just hit a 2-star Siphon and a 2-star Zoe on the same round. Alex M was already falling behind, and the lobby just got accelerated wildly.
Goes out in 6 here, and I think fiskskagg has now suddenly got the opportunity to push all the way on this one. Let's see who they face off against next, because that could be the deciding factor on who's taking points. It's going to be the matchup against brubbba, and I think based on the matchup I just saw that they've easily got what it takes to pick up a win here.
I mean, we talked about this yesterday. Shyvana works so well into these corky boards.
Shyvana died!
Oh, wait a second. I retract my former statement. Fisk, this felt like the perfect setup, but brubbba's damage is overwhelming, and Fisk is gone.
Talk through what happened to Shyvana there. There was a knock-up. There was, I think it was was it a shroud that blocked them out, or was it just the evoker stealing away? Whatever it was, Shyvana delayed from ascending for so long that they died before they could even find the ultimate. It's the end of Fisk. It's simultaneous to the end of Alex, but they go out on slightly less of a negative. And is that the right way of saying? Less of a negative? I think that works. It means that they take 4 points, which is that little bit better than maybe they might have thought they were going to take. It keeps them in contention going towards our last round of the day. And now we've got brubbba and Tiaan guaranteed top 4, trying to take Laser Octopus down.
Speaking as a probably too frequent Ragebring enjoyer, I can tell you that the nerfs to Shyvana's max mana, when she gets CC'd, when she gets shrouded, she just, she takes so long to cast in a round that she almost becomes irrelevant compared to her old form, where she would always cast and always knock up the board. We're down to our top 4. So with Alex M being knocked out in 5th, Tiaan and the brubbba are still alive. The 2 Scort leaders in this lobby are guaranteed a top 4.
We've talked a lot about Tiaan and brubbba and the points that they need. We've talked about Laser Octopus and how strong they've been near the end. We've not talked quite so much about staig. Here, with this 3-star Olaf that we've seen having great success today, it's got another opportunity to show why it's such a power play unit. It is getting melted from multiple sides, but let's see if it's got the healing. It just doesn't, and staig drops down to 1 health.
Let's go and check out what brubba's got going on here as well. Our late game boards, as we said, they're coming towards ending up in just obscene power levels. All of our players know they are playing 1st or 8th, which means the late game is everything.
Really is, and positioning is starting to become exceptionally important as well, Peter.
Oh, for sure. I mean, with brubbba as well, they've got the double Zoe setup here, so their positioning is going to be really important. The laser, it crisscrosses the entire map. Everything else is fine, but brubbba, keep an eye out really closely on how this Siphon does, because their front line for brubbba is not strong.
1 round before neutral, before a brief respite, and it is going to be brubbba up against staig. Let's see whether this Olaf can get onto the Corki in time. Big damage coming through from the assassin. That was the Talon that jumped to the back line and removed multiple targets. Corki still free firing, but Olaf has gone untouched. The assassins find the Yordle, and they take brubbba down to 7 HP. Formerly a standout, almost certain victor of this lobby. Looks like they might even go out in 4th.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly did well in the previous game, the Corki Siphon going in 1st, but with Laser Octopus dropping out in 4th, that pushes brubbba 1 more point up the scoreboard. You're right, it seems like it's between them and Tiaan.
Wow, Octopus just dropping out there, and it means for guaranteed sure that we're seeing at least 7 points going to Tiaan and brubbba. That means going into the last round of the day, they're not guaranteed finishing top 3, but they know that a half-decent result in the last one is going to find it them.
All right, let's go and check out what everyone's got. So we've got Giant Slayer here, which is not bad at all for brubbba to help push their Tristana more as a damage source. I'm not sure there's going to be too much else to put in. Let's see, what have we got here for staig? They've got themselves, a pretty nice item. The Zeke's coming in, and wait a second, is that the legendary 3-star Talon? Oh my gosh! Just have a look at these numbers here. It's going to be 766 damage on the target with the ult. the newly buffed, because they didn't really expect anybody to actually get Talon 3, let alone a scaled scorn Talon 3.
Oh, it's gonna hit like a damn truck, Peter. 1 health remaining for staig, but they could carry this one all the way home. Shyvana is in here, the 2-star Shyvana. It's got the BT, it's got the Archangels, and it's got Justice there as well. It's going to rise up to the skies, finding a multi-man knockup onto these assassins, but so far the damage just isn't being done by the rest of the team. The Flame Breath will keep Shyvana going for so long, but it will eventually be a win for staig. That, of course, was through the ghost, so let's see what's happening on the other screen.
Brubbba trying to hold on as best they can, but no, Tiaan will knock them down personally. So Brubbba out in third, which means Tiaan is, as of this round, going to be ahead of Brubbba and remain one of our top front runners for those 3 positions.
Absolutely guaranteed to be in the top 2 now going into the last round. That's absolutely huge news for them, and it'll be even better if they can find the win with the Shyvana against these assassins. Do you think they can do it?
Oh boy, we shall find out very soon. It looks like the setup for Tiaan here, now they know who their opponent is every single round coming out, it's going to be very hard for the assassins to get in. The 3-star Talon, though, once this comp spreads out a little bit, I'm going to keep my eye very close on the Talon, because they will murder anything they touch. I think that's going to be the end of the line.
Shyvana's doing as much as they possibly can, but that's a big hit onto Tiaan's hit points. If they take the same again on the next round, it's all going to be over before the next carousel. In the words of Magnitude, pop, pop, as soon as that Talon got onto the back line.
And unfortunately for Tiaan, there's just not very much they can do about it. Talon, you know, it's going to be able to hop around the place. They can't keep their formation intact once it gets drawn out by the initial engagement. And, I mean, they're doing a little bit of change around. They have got the Randuins to provide that extra defensive across the entire team, but ultimately, I think staig gets this one. This will be their best performance across today after taking 2 7th places in a row. Staig is here to provide the damage. Talon digs in.
This is the last fight, almost certainly. Talon not quite able to do quite as much leading as last time, but it's still enough. It's still the end. Staig fights back for a 1-hit point win. It wasn't the 100-hit point win for Brubbba that was predicted. Instead, a big one for staig. It's a little too late for them to push high up the table, but it has dented the chances of others in their lobby.
Oh boy, so that means we've got just one last game here today before